The paradigm shift in posterior composite. Let's start with a question. Out of 10 cases that come to your clinic, how many cases you do amalgam fillings and how many composites? I am sure the majority of you, say 8, will say amalgam, composite rather than amalgam. Let me ask another question. Comparing amalgam and composite, which material do you think has the better longevity? Your answer will be amalgam. Isn't it an irony? That's the essence of today's presentation, the paradigm shift in composites. It's time to unlearn and relearn certain things. Have you ever been taught to do dental composites in your preclinical days or clinicals in your dental school? I think majority of cases that you do was that of amalgam and that of GV Black's cavity preparations. The cavity preparation of GV Black doesn't hold good for composites. So composites, you should understand, are never substitutes, but they are alternative to amalgam restorations. When you consider composites, it's everyone's favorite. It has superior aesthetics, it has adhesive properties, and so it's considered as a superstar among all the filling materials. But many studies have shown that the class 1 and class 2 composites have significantly higher failure rate than that of amalgam restorations. So why do posterior composites fail? Let's delve into history. See this man, Claudius Galen. He proposed a medical model at a time when no standardizations existed. Later it was found that the medical model proposed by Galen was obsolete and unscientific. Maybe GV Black's cavity preparation. It has shown to weaken posterior dentition and lead to fracturing in even most conservative applications. So the cavity preparations that were once considered to be good for amalgam restoration, as I told, doesn't hold good for composites. It has been over 100 years since the inception of Black's cavity designs. As you know, materials changed, the concepts changed, but how much did the cavity preparation design changed? It's the same design of cavity that we have been using for more than 100 years. So the core of the problem is the design of the cavity. Let's look into some of the drawbacks of Black's cavity designs. One of dentistry's myths is that amalgam expansion causes tooth fracture. The fracture problem does not originate with amalgam per se. It originates with iatrogenic GV Black cavity preparations. Because, as you see in this picture, these fracture lines, which once we were thought to be because of the expansion of amalgam. The similar cavity designs and fracturing are seen with posterior composites now. So it is because of the cavity design the posterior composites have the same problem. Two-year study was conducted between 2001 and 2003, which evaluated posterior tooth that was treated for replacement of an amalgam or posterior composite under 16x magnification. It was found that most fracture lines initiate in dentin at the line angles. Interrupted cavities were more crack resistant than connected cavity preparations. Let me ask you another question. Amalgam or composite? Which has better longevity? I would say composites, and I am sure I can prove you in the course of this lecture. Let's look into some of the problems with traditional posterior composite techniques. It is a flat metal matrix. The flat metal matrix doesn't reproduce the original tooth anatomy. There are traditional wedges, which now it's replaced by more sophisticated wedges which has separation as well. Boxy shaped cavities again is a big no, because boxy shaped cavities you will find more dentin than enamel. Incremental composite loading, again we have bulk fill composites now which can cure in one step application. So minimalism is the new standard of care. Dental awareness has tremendously increased. Young patients often report to clinic with very small carious lesions. Such situations warrant minimal tooth preparation designs and restoration with more aesthetic material. The advantage of composite includes this minimalism. That's minimal removal of tooth material for cavity preparation. Then composite can always be repaired and refurbished. It is fracture resistant. It enhances fracture resistance of teeth and reinforces the tooth structure. It has superior aesthetics compared to all other restorations. So when you understand composite, you should understand that composite is a very poor biological space filler. It must be sealed 360-degree from inside and out. And packing composite into a hole is not a predictable method. Again, parallel walls, resistance and retention forms, which is used in traditional GV blacks preparation, works against posterior composites. There are some more aspects to posterior composites. You should always consider that posterior composite should go on the tooth rather than in the tooth. The best margin for posterior composite is no margin. Polymerization shrinkage is a fact which cannot be eliminated, but it can only be mitigated. C factor again remains a significant problem for composites. So it's time to unlearn certain things. First of all, as you know, never connect dots. When you have a cavity like this in a tooth, your immediate tendency will be to connect the dots. But what you should do is you should prepare the dots separately so that the longevity increases. I am telling about the longevity of the tooth here rather than the restoration. And always, boxy cavity is the worst design. It is in the enamel we trust. More the enamel, the better. So, when you do a cavity preparation, make sure you prepare maximum tooth surface with enamel. Composite hates short margins. As you see in this restoration, there is short margin, but when you do with infinity margin, composites last longer. You should know that the biofilms always hint about this. These biofilms can be disrupted by using disclosing agent and air water abrasive slurry with a high speed hand base. Again, composite always follows the rule of hydraulics. So packable composite is an oxymoron. Composite can be heated and it can be packed into the cavity in a better way. It's time to change the concepts and techniques for composite. There is something called the Simonson transition, where a new cavity design was formulated by Simonson. In this type of preparations, Black's cavity preparations was slightly modified. But what's ideal for composite? It's the Clark's tooth preparation design, which is the most ideal for composite. It is a fairly radical departure from the G.V. Black system of preparing and restoring posterior teeth. These new cavity designs are based on adhesive composite restorative material and engineered to resist tooth fracture. You can see this calla lily flower. The traditional parallel walled cavity preparations does not provide adequate volume for enamel rod engagement. Parallel cavity walls do not afford proper angle of intersection of enamel rods to provide long-term splinting for posterior teeth. So class 1 cavity, it looks somewhat like this. As you can see, it's just like a calla lily flower. You engage more enamel outside, and as you can see, there is no definite line angles on this preparation. It allows tooth splinting when composite is carefully placed and resists fracture. It also, as you can see, maximizes enamel rod engagement and allows perfect visualization of the cavity. Even Clark's class 2 preparation. The goal of first time is to avoid connecting the occlusal and the interproximal. So we usually give saucer shape with serpentine or infinity or disappearing margins. As you can see in this picture, you can see the enamel rods which are prepared with serpentine margins, and there are no definite line angles that you can see. So serpentine margins always gives best results.